Hey everybody, thanks so much for watching the Arkansas Gun Guy. I have a whole mess of guns here, but I want to kind of walk you through the almost complete history and evolution of H&K's handguns. H&K kind of rose out of the ashes of Mauser after World War II and really became famous in rifles and didn't really start making handguns until the early 60s. And there's two handguns that I don't have here. I'll highlight very quickly before I jump in. The first is the HK4, designed in the early 60s. It shot lots of smaller caliber rounds. I think 22, 25, 32, and 380. They came with 4 different barrels in each gun, thus the HK4. And then the VP70 was released in 1970, the first polymer frame, or first striker fire gun actually. I've seen a couple of those. I've had no desire to buy one because I've heard the triggers are absolutely not great. But without those two, I will then begin our journey. I'll kind of weed these out one by one and kind of walk through how they started and how the evolution happened. Now, before I do that, I also want to flash a picture of a book in front of you. Hopefully this will show up. That's the Vickers Guide for Heckler and Koch. This is volume 1. Volume 2 is out and volume 3 is in the works. But volume 1 is primarily handguns. This is the definitive guide to all things Heckler and Koch, written by Larry Vickers or designed by Larry Vickers and James Williamson, a couple of H&K experts. So highly recommend that book if you don't have it already. I'll put a link in the description below. I don't get paid. There's no partnership there. It's just a fantastic book. If you're an H&K fan, definitely recommend that. So again, I'll just kind of sort these out as we go and try to talk about them in order. Starting with, again, the earliest model that I have, and that is H&K's P9 here. This gun was actually designed before the P70. This gun was designed in the mid to late 60s, but didn't begin production until 1972. And then it remained in production until 1984. Very interesting because this is their first 9mm handgun, and in order to handle the weight or the pressure of the 9mm, the more powerful round, they incorporated the roller delay blowback system from their MP5s. Again, H&K was really good already with rifles, but they hadn't really done anything with handguns, 9mm handguns, until this. And again, this is a fantastic fixed barrel, roller delayed system. It's a hammer fired gun with an awesome multifunction lever here that allows you to cock and decock the pistol. Again, roller delayed, super fixed barrel, makes it a very accurate shooter, very soft shooting as well. A very, very accurate handgun with, I think, some awesome sights. It's designed in the 60s and still really relevant today. I love shooting this gun, fantastic shooter. I will call out, it's made for right-handers only. They never made a left-handed version, so for right-handers, this is incredibly ergonomic. For left-handers, it's a very soft shooter, it's very accurate, but it's not pleasant to shoot as this thing is painful for left-handers. So we started in the late 60s, early 70s with the P9. Now, fantastic gun, but they're in the mid-80s after the Munich, or in the early 80s, I guess, after the Munich massacre at the Olympics, there was a call for new weapons for German police forces. And this, I think H&K wanted to submit the P9, but a couple of requirements had changed. First of all, it needed to be fully ambi and hold, I think, more rounds, but in general, ambi was one big difference. So three firearm manufacturers submitted bids for that program: Walther, 6 Hour, and H&K. Walther and SIG redesigned an existing gun for the trials, but H&K designed what I think is the most awesome gun ever made, and that is the P7. The Walther and SIG were noted P5, P6, and then P7 because they all won the contract. But this gun takes the P9 a step further. That is fully ambi. You'll see there's palm swells here and here for left-handers. The multifunction, or the grip module here, serves as a safety and a cocker and a mag release as well. So it's 100% ambi, something this gun was not. And it also removed the roller delay blowback system and incorporated a gas delayed blowback system. So again, fixed barrel delayed blowback system, this time with gas, and a fantastic trigger here with a very ergonomic grip. It's very natural, like if you just point your finger to pull the trigger. This is also one of the most accurate H&Ks I think ever made. Even though these are the two oldest, I shoot these two better than even my current day H&Ks. So this gun, very complex, very awesome. Start there, very awesome. Probably one of the most collectible H&Ks of all of them. Very awesome, but very complicated and quite expensive. So people actually want, the police departments or the militaries wound up buying, I think, more SIGs and Walthers because of the cost. This gun was quite expensive to make. So fast forward then to the mid 80s, H&K saw that they're not making a lot of money on the P7s, and they started taking a survey or looking at what was around, and polymer was really evolving at that time. So that started work on the USP series, the Universal Self-Loading Pistol. This is, I think, one of the most important firearms in H&K's development, because this thing allowed H&K to do a lot of different things. Very modular gun in the fact that it was designed initially around the 40 Smith & Wesson cartridge, very powerful, but 9mm was also released at the same time, and later a 45 version was released, which is what I have here. Now, I say modular because they were designed to have multiple different configurations. Most are double action, single action, but some are also the LEM trigger, law enforcement modification. We'll talk about that later, but that is a couple of different trigger options in this firearm. You also have the ability to carry it with one in the chamber with safety, or you can, or with decocked rather. You can put one in the chamber and decock it, or you can cock it and carry it cocked and locked if you want to, that way, like a 1911. So again, and you can do these left-handed, right-handed, you can do them safety only or decocker only. So multiple variations of the USP. This gun had better profit margins than the P7, not as complicated to produce, but also super flexible because they could base everything off of this model, whether it was a smaller compact version that came out in the mid-90s, I think, or the larger versions that people wanted safeties only, decockers only, 40 Smith & Wesson, it could all be built off that platform. And along the way, this thing is overbuilt, over-designed, over-engineered, over everything, and it is 100% reliable and just absolutely bomb-proof. I think it's been torture tested more than most guns out there and is legendary for being incredibly durable. And since this gun was introduced in 1989, or I think it was designed in the late 80s, it was actually launched in 1993. Not many gun manufacturers have the exact same gun in their catalog today that they still have, and this is still in H&K's catalog, pretty much unchanged from the day they got it. Also, a series of firsts, I forgot to mention, the P7 earlier was the first firearm to have the 3-dot system like this. The USP was the first firearm to have an accessory rail. This is an H&K proprietary rail that will change later, but they were the first to develop that. And they, again, over the years, they could have changed this to a 1913 pick rail. They haven't. They've kept this true to the original. So an absolutely pivotal, very important firearm in H&K's evolution, the Universal Self-Loading Pistol, the USP. Now, around that same time, US SOCOM was trying to develop one pistol to replace all designs they had, and they started working with H&K, and they further developed the USP series to come up with the Mark 23. This gun went into production in 1996, about 3 years after the USP, and this is a gun designed by the US government, and it is, again, overbuilt in every way for the USP. This is overbuilt ×2 with a much longer sight radius, threaded barrel. They do make tactical versions here as well, but with the threaded barrel, a super long sight radius, massive trigger guard. You can get your fist in there if you had to. And this one came chambered in 45 ACP only. Again, some people talk about how this guy is probably too big, too bulky, not really relevant, but there's some fantastic videos out there. Again, I'll post a link in the description below to probably the best one about how legendary this firearm is. Again, went in production in the early 90s, or mid-90s rather, in 1996, and still in production today. One of my favorite things is the fact that you have a separate safety and decocker. Again, these are combined here, but this decocker is designed that you can decock it more stealthily. Now, also jokingly, during the development of the Universal Self-Loading Pistol, the USP, it was designed primarily for the US market, so a lot of people called it the United States pistol. Thought that was very interesting. So, again, I think almost everything that's happened to H&K since has kind of evolved off of this. Now, fast forward to the late 90s, early 2000s, another contract came in, and H&K only builds gun for contracts, and then us civilians are lucky enough to kind of get them later. A contract came through, wanted an evolution of the USP Compact. Again, this is the full-size 45. They make these in a variety of calibers, 45, 9, 40, and 9mm, and 357 SIG, in both large and compact. The compact is about this size, but there's a contract for a branch of German military or German government services that wanted a compact firearm like the USP, but they wanted to be 100% ambidextrous with adjustable back straps and a standard pick rail on there. One thing about the USP, as modular as it is, it's pretty much only for right-handers. I think you can potentially switch the safety decock around, but there's no slide stop, slide catch over there. So oops, I grabbed the wrong gun, so sorry guys. So the H&K P2000 was developed. And again, it is very similar to the compact size of the USP, but it does come with the adjustable back strap here. I think they come with 3 or 4 sizes back here, and a more standard pick rail. And most importantly, they're 100% ambi. Ambi here and ambi there. This is a fantastic firearm, and also an example of H&K's LEM trigger. This one, you notice, does not have a safety or a decocker on there because the trigger here acts as your safety, and you don't need the decocker or safety with this very interesting trigger system. So again, the P2000 evolved from the USP based on the needs of another contract. So that happened in 2001, I think the engineering designed, and around 2002 went in production. Still in production today. This is a firearm I don't see out in the wild very often. This one only comes in the compact size and subcompact. Doesn't come in full size. So compact and subcompact. And I believe today it's chambered in both 9 and 40 Smith & Wesson. So fast forward a few more years, another contract came up wanting a bit more evolution from the P2000. They wanted more capacity, 15 rounds, and I think that's the big, they also wanted the takedown lever to not have to be removed when you disassemble the gun so you wouldn't lose it. On all the prior locking systems with John Browning systems from the USP forward, this slide stop comes out when you disassemble the gun. So the requirements for the contract they got in the early 2000s, 2006, stipulated that they wanted this takedown lever to be captured. So this one is. Now, they further evolved. This one came with 15 round capacity early on. H&K's already evolved into 17 rounds with the P30 series. And they still have the adjustable back straps for the back, but they also add adjustable side panels as well. So this, I think, is an evolution of all the fantastic things that came before it. And in my opinion, maybe the best, most versatile gun that H&K makes. It is absolutely the most ergonomic gun I own, 1000% ambidextrous. If you go back to the P9, this is the least left-handed friendly gun on the world. This is one of the most left-handed friendly guns in the world because you have H&K's awesome paddle mag releases, ambi, slide stop, slide step, slide release, as well as safety lever there. So the P30 was a fantastic leap forward, very customizable, more capacity, and you don't have to take out the takedown lever. This gun also, like all the ones that have evolved from the USP, comes in a variety of sizes and calibers. It's available in the long, which I have here, a shorter barrel version, and a subcompact version, all with multiple trigger configurations, double action, single action, or LEM, and they come in multiple calibers. There's a VP40, P40 rather, there's 9mm. I don't think these were ever developed in 357 SIG, but again, they also come in different sizes, and this does, again, have a standard, today's standard 1913 pick rail. So this, in my humble opinion, is the perfect evolution of all the things that came before it. But now, again, I mentioned the USP came in 9 and 40 Smith & Wesson, 9, 257 SIG, and also 45. The P2000 didn't come in 45, nor did the P30. So about the same time the P30 was developed, H&K worked on another updated version of the USP in 45, and that was actually called the H&K 45. came out around 2006 rather, same time as the P30 here. But you'll notice it doesn't take the same styling cues as the P30 with these grips on here. It actually is very much a descendant of the P2000. You can see the grips are almost identical on these things with adjustable back straps there. So again, this also has you don't have to remove the takedown lever to disassemble this, but this is an evolution of, again, everything that came before it, but very much based on the P2000 ergonomics and designs. Again, exact same slide there. So again, the chambered in 45 ACP, the HK45 came in full size and compact. This again is the compact version. So again, fantastic evolution of all these hammer fired guns that shoot 9mm and up. I say hammer fired. This is a striker fired gun. Forgot to call that out. So the last firearm that was developed for H&K, again for another contract in the 2010s, around 2014 actually, is the VP9, which is pretty much a striker fired version of the P30 that came out about 7 or 8 years earlier. You can see these two side by side here. As I'm trying to move these out of your way, sorry guys. You'll see these guns are pretty much identical with the grip modules. The grip modules all have both replaceable back straps and side panels, and the magazines are actually interchangeable. They're both 100% ambi with the slide stops on left and right side, and they have, again, H&K's kind of universal mag release. Now, again, there was lots of money to be made in the striker fire market. I don't remember who the contract was for, but the contract came up for the VP9, and again, I shoot the P9 and P7 very well, and I shoot the VP9 very well also. So they did a fantastic job making a striker fire gun that is a joy to shoot. So fantastic evolution of H&K, starting with the P9 designed in the mid-60s, evolving all the way through the legendary and super important USP, again designed in the mid-90s and still in H&K's catalog today, unchanged. Absolutely a legend, kind of end of days gun here, evolving all the way into the super customizable polymer frame, super ergonomic things you see today with the VP9 and P30. So that is my quick look at kind of the quick evolution of all the H&K firearms. What do you guys think about H&K? Do you have a favorite model? Do you have several favorite models? Are there any you don't like? Because so far I haven't found any I don't like. Again, I don't have the HK4 or the VP70 yet, but I'm sure if I do, I'll try to make a video about it, and I hope you will watch, and I hope you consider liking and subscribing. Thanks so much for tuning in.